for every player before they actually do.
Yeah, and
before Giannis won it last year.
Yeah. Same thing.
It's the same for every player.
Only player.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show. As always, I am one half of your host here, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98, and back in the co-host seat today, my man Matt McGinty. Check him out on Twitter as well at Matt_McGinty, as we stream to you guys live through DSM Media on our Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook channel. So if you're new to the channel, head on over to at DSM_media on Twitter. The link tree is in our bio to take you to every social media platform we are available on. Again, what's going on, my guy?
Nothing, man. Saturday's the day we've been waiting for a while, probably since the Harden trade came. So that's exciting. I don't want to use the term the Phillies have stumbled out of the gate, but hasn't been the prettiest of starts, sitting at 500 this early. But it's going good, man. It's exciting. The NFL drafts are on the corner as well. This is like a time where you get a little taste of everything. I know I'm not a hockey guy, but I'm pretty sure people are probably excited about hockey, not the Flyers, but everyone else. But NBA playoffs are here, man. It's exciting.
Gin's just happy he doesn't have to watch too much puck, because if the Flyers were relevant, if the Flyers were making a playoff push right now, I'd be like, Gin, did you check out last night's game? Nah, I didn't. And we'd have to have some guests on to get through some Flyers talk. But that's not the case. But yeah, dude. So are you off this Saturday for the game?
Yeah, I am.
All right, good work, because Git and I were down at the I ran into a lot of DSM people this past week. I saw you down at and Cole and Kata down at the game on Saturday for a W, and then I went to the game with Scotty, and then the closet Mets fan George Ryder stumbled into our section just right before the Phils came back. So that was fun. But yes, Charlie, what's going on, Charlie? First of all, thank you for tuning in. But yes, we will. But first, we're going to start with the Sixers, simply because, again, I talked with Phil Stifle today on Trending in the AM, and this city, I don't know. I don't feel a lot of buzz around this Sixers team, around this upcoming series. And maybe that's because, we've just been wanting to get to the finish line for so long. Like this last month or so of basketball hasn't been the prettiest. We knew they were going to be a top 4 seed. We didn't care too much about the seeding, kind of stay away from Brooklyn, but, we don't care. We're not chasing the 1 seed really, and just get us there. Maybe that's it. Or maybe people just aren't believing that this team can do anything. Maybe people do believe that James Harden's washed and the bench stinks and Doc's on his way out. I don't know. I'm not one of those people. However, I do feel that the energy level is down. My question for you before we get into the X's and O's and what's important in the X factors, how are you feeling heading into the series? Because this is a team in Toronto that people are a little bit worried about.
So I think people have this negative taste in their mouth from Toronto of obviously the Kawhi shot. It was a monumental moment. That was a disaster in sports history. They've done a good job containing Embiid. The season series this year, I think we lost. I'd have to go back and check.
Yeah, they beat us 3-1.
3-1. And I'm pretty sure they didn't have Van Fleet or OG in the last matchup that we lost as well.
Yeah.
So it's definitely – Nick Nurse has done a good job with Embiid. He makes it very messy for Embiid. So it's tough to gauge. I really think Philadelphia is going to handle them. I'm not this negative fan about it. I think James Harden and Joel Embiid have came far enough to the point where they're really ready to put something together. I think it's going to be the other guys that you kind of need to step up. Georges Niang, Danny Green. Like, they have to hit shots. Obviously, the Mattisse thing is a disaster, I guess the word I'll use. It's going to be a blow. The bench already was weak as is, and now it's even more weak. So –
dude, this might be a long segment because you're rattling off these names, and we're going to group them, but I kind of want to – you have to go player by player because everyone's going to play an important role in this series. I'm with you, though. The doomsday Negadelphia type of Philly fan is really bothering me right now, and we're going to get to that in the Philly segment because 6 games in, the world's already falling apart. The sky's coming crashing down. if you didn't know, Gimp. But with the Sixers specifically, the James Harden thing, we can start there. Listen, I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, James Harden's wearing a fat suit. James Harden puts on a show, blah, blah, blah. I threw this out there this morning. What if, just hypothetically, because I don't buy that he's washed. I don't buy, he might be a step slower. You cannot tell me that in his time in Brooklyn for the first half of this season, he averaged almost 25, 9, and 8 or whatever. In the first 5 or 6 games here, it was 25, 27, 32, triple-double. And then all of a sudden, he's just no longer the same player. He's just done. He can't beat anybody at the dribble. He can't shoot well, yada, yada, yada. What if the Sixers from a month ago, knew they were going to be a top 4 seed, didn't care about chasing a higher seed, wouldn't mind staying away from the Brooklyn Nets, working James Harden into the system, and it's just, here, this is the basketball you've seen the last month.
I got to cut you off. I'm going to give you my thoughts on that. I have to pull you up my other monitor because my laptop charger isn't working. So I got to cut out, and then I'll be right back in like 2 minutes.
I'll see. You got the link?
You got to go solo for 2 minutes.
You had the link?
Yeah. I'm good on that.
All right. I'll see you in a second.
My other monitor.
Yeah, I got you in a second. But that's my only thought, guys, is the fact that, listen, I'm not going to sit here and call it like he's a master of manipulation. He's not fooling anybody. I'm not saying he shot so poorly because he wants to fool everyone into thinking he's done and he's going to come out in the postseason. I just think there's a switch to be flipped when it comes to James Harden. I think this week of practice, this extra 10 days of practice has been incredibly crucial and important for the Sixers and him. But I really do. I just think they knew they were going to have home court in the first round. They knew, record-wise, number-wise, it was going to be extremely difficult to beat out Milwaukee, Boston, and Miami, all for the 1 seed. They see where Brooklyn's sitting. Not that anybody's scared of Brooklyn, but do you want to play Brooklyn in the first round? I don't. They don't care to. So they didn't really care about pushing all their chips in to go and play their best basketball. They weren't as motivated to get a higher seed. And maybe that's just what you saw. A new player getting acclimated to a new system next to new guys, everybody figuring the role out. He's taking a back seat for the last month of basketball. Here you go, Toby. Here you go, Tyrese. Here you go, George, Joel, etc. Because I really believe deep down, James Harden can flip that switch come postseason time, and I think he will. Charlie saying, will they call up Jaden Springer and Miles Powell from the G League? No. I mean, they might just for – I don't know how the roster's shaping out. But no, neither of those guys will be called up, especially to see any time. The one question you can ask about young guys is if Paul Reed's going to get running. I know once Gimp pops in, we can get into him in the backup center position because it has become an issue that I didn't think was going to be as big of a concern heading into a series. And then you have the head coach who wants to be this smug, arrogant, I know better than you, talk down to media and fans type of guy that I quite frankly cannot stand anymore in Doc Rivers. We'll get to all that once Gint pops in, but yeah, I'm not that worried about this first series, guys. I get it. Toronto is going to be tough. It's going to be a difficult series. They're going to try to out-hustle the Sixers, outwork the Sixers, be more physical than the Sixers. They're going to beat the Sixers on the offensive glass. They're going to be in every game. I think they win 2. I think the series starts off 2-2. I do think it's a great close series. The Sixers have too much talent. Toronto's a nice team. Fred VanVleet. Pascal Siakam averages like 32 against the Sixers. Gary Trent just popped off against the Sixers the other night. Precious Achiuwa hit 5 threes the other night. Chris Boucher always shoots like he's Larry Bird against the Philadelphia 76ers. They're nice. OG Anunoby. Scotty Barnes, good players. They're not Joel Embiid. They're not James Harden. They're not Tyrese Maxey. And there's my partner. He's back. Charlie, no. It's not a dumb question. I was just saying that Jaden Springer and Miles Powell, like they won't be called up and they definitely won't be playing come postseason. But yeah, again, I just wrapped up the James Harden, the worry thing. I just think that there's a switch to be flipped when it comes to him, and I think he switches it.
I agree. Just to jump in about the James Harden thing, we do need to see 27 and 10 James Harden, not 19 and 14 James Harden, if that makes sense. Super
I'm with
aggressive,
you.
get to the foul line. Creating for guys is great, don't get me wrong, but it comes to a time where it's postseason where it's if other guys are getting shots, James Harden and Joel Embiid are getting shots. And he's a great facilitator. He's been unbelievable facilitating since he got here, but they need him to shoot the ball and be super aggressive. So, like I said, 27 and 10, I think is a little different than a 19 and 14 type night. 30 and 11 is way different than that as well. I think he needs to be super aggressive. Same thing with Joel Embiid, obviously. He came out today, talked about how they made him into a better playmaker. I get that, but he needs to find a ways to be aggressive, get to the foul line, and do all those types of things for us. I know we're going to jump into obviously everyone else, but those are definitely my first two thoughts on those guys.
Well, I don't know if you were listening while you were going, because that's kind of the gist of what I was just going over. Like, Toronto's a nice team. They are. Van Vliet, Siakam averages like 32 against us. Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Chris Boucher shoots like he's Larry against us, right? They're not James Harden. They're not Joel Embiid. You and I, for the last 2 months, have said what? Over and over again. The Philadelphia 76ers will always have two of the three best players on the floor. Guess what, guys? As long as he's James Harden and not 3 of 17 James Harden, they have the two best players on the floor night in and night out in this series, with a rising star in Tyrese Maxey behind him who can drop 25 on a given night, right? So that's the point. These two guys, yes, it's nice, and it's going to be important to get Tobias Harris some catch and shoot threes, Danny Green some open looks from the corner, George Niang some open looks from the wing. That's all important, and that'll come naturally. But those two have to take over, not defer. Again, the minutes that are going to be very important are when Joel's off. That's when that James Harden you're talking about scoring-wise has to come out to play even more so than any other time on the floor.
And I'll piggyback off that. When Joel's off the floor and Mattisse isn't in the lineup, how this team looks defensively without their anchor. Mattisse is a big blow, and I talked about it. The word disaster, I think, is a good word to use. Again, I still think Philly can handle the Raptors without him. But you look at the perimeter and who's going to guard these guys? Who's going to guard the Fred VanVleets, the Pascal Siakams, the OG Anunobys? Danny Green, I think, is going to be ready. We've talked about it a lot. Danny Green's a pro. Danny Green isn't lockdown defender Danny Green. It's going to be tough. And without an anchor and someone to block shots, it's going to be interesting. I talked about it all season. I didn't want this to happen, but you really might see Paul Reed. I think he brings this sense of athleticism that Toronto brings, and DeAndre Jordan does not bring that. So that'll definitely Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to see where he goes with the backup big in this series. But defensively, the whole game with Joel off the floor just screams what it was against Toronto a couple of years ago.
Those minutes have to be minimized. Doc has to be smart about it. And that's where we can transition, man. Like Joel cannot play 11 and a half minutes of the first 12, Gint. That's what he's been doing. And you know what happens when that happens? Then he sits out the first 4.5 to 5 minutes of the second quarter. Joel, yes, should sit for 5 or so minutes each half, let's say, right? But they need to be divided. Not 5 straight. Those are times you get killed and the other team goes on massive runs. And Doc does nothing to adjust to it in game. So you have to prepare for that. Joel, to me, should come out, I'd say maybe around the 4-minute mark. Come back, or 5-minute mark. We'll say 4. Come back in with 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Finish the first quarter. Start the second quarter. Come out around the 8-minute mark, sit for 2-3 minutes, come back in to finish the half. Because then you minimalize the amount of time he's off the floor in one run. You don't allow for them to go 4, 5, 5.5, 6 minutes on this huge gaping run.
The only thing I'll throw you with that, I don't think he's going to play more minutes. So obviously the team, the time with him off the court is going to get shrunk. Playing him in small increments is tough because he's such a rhythm player, in my opinion. When he's in a rhythm, he's getting to the line. He's getting touches where he gives the ball where he wants it, etc. So trying to pull him and play him in these short increments might be tough. What they need to do is when he's off the floor, like you mentioned, James Harden needs to be so ball dominant to the point where and Charles Barkley loves to troll him for it, but dribble. Like, and I'm not sitting here saying kill 20 seconds and just
Right.
shoot any shot you get. That's not what I'm talking about. But you need to control the pace of the game. You can't let these athletic guys get out and run while he's off the floor because the transition defense is already atrocious, let alone without Joel, who's what?
Right.
Probably the best athlete on the team, if
Yeah.
not probably top
Probably.
3.
No, he is.
So that's something definitely to play in. But as for Doc, it's make or break time for Doc, in my opinion. It feels just like Ben last year. It does. It's if you can even throw a small sample size at the reason we lose any series, not even just this series, any series at Doc, I don't think he'll be here next year. He'll be on a plane to LA immediately. Um, where does he go in terms of Shake Milton,
Well,
the backup big? Like, there's so many question marks that he might not have to push the right buttons this series. Because again, I think we can get by Toronto based off the talent that we have. But as we get, and I don't want to look forward because this still is going to be a
right.
series.
But you get to
You have to
Miami
win.
next
You have to
series.
win the games. But what buttons does he press, and are they right? He was right last year in Game 3 or Game 2 in Atlanta with Shake, but he wasn't right Game 1 when he threw Danny Green on an island with Trae Young.
Right.
He's got to be right. He's got to be good, and he can't get out coached.
Well, it's insane because I've had this conversation a lot lately, and I think people over exaggerate and overestimate how much control a coach has in the outcome of a game and in a sport outside of football. Like in the NFL, obviously coaches and play callers have a huge role. But in the NBA, NHL, MLB, yes, there's blame to go around, but normally it's minimalized. Players play, coaches coach in this league. However, with what Doc does and how bullheadish he is and his rotations and how long he puts out those rotations and his lack of in-game adjustments and yada, 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 he could have a major role in a series loss. Like, I mean, dude, if because then what he does is affecting the players' play part. Because if DeAndre Jordan's one of those players playing and he's at minus 25 through the first 2 games in small increments, that's on Doc for continuously throwing him out there. With the bench, it's weird. Do we know Doc likes to for whatever reason, maybe run 10 in the postseason? You can't do that, right? And you brought up Mattisse.
You absolutely can't without Mattisse either. There's not.
No, for sure.
There's not 10 playable guys.
But even with first things first, with Mattisse even playing in Philadelphia, I start Danny Green. I've seen enough just over this small sample size that it's a better fit.
Yeah.
You allow Danny Green as a rhythm shooter to get into a rhythm early, and Matisse's defense will come naturally off the bench if needed. Bringing a shooter cold off the bench is a lot different than bringing a defender off the bench cold. So I think that's big. I disagree with this. I really don't think he will be bad enough to lose this series unless DeAndre Jordan's playing 12 minutes a night and he is that bad, unless he's rolling out 4 bench guys with James Harden and the bench is getting outscored 44-10 on every night. I don't think he'll be that bad. Abe, what's going on? But Danny Green definitely starts for me. The bench players then become Mattisse, Thybulle, the backup 5, whoever it is, George Niang, and Shake Milton. So to me, you're running 9. In Toronto, you're running 8. That's everybody better eat their bananas and be ready to play a lot because I'm running 8 tonight. Furkan's not getting in. Isaiah Joe's not getting in. Paul Millsap's not getting in. Like, no. It's these 8. However, I don't know what he does. You know my problem. How do you feel about him now? Because I feel like you and this has been another guy in this organization that we've given a pass to when fans have been on him in the past. And I've just kind of given a pass. But now he's really starting to bother me because we know the Popovich response that he gave reporters months ago. Stupid, whatever. But there's one thing I'll say about Philadelphia sports fans, Gint. 95% of them are knowledgeable. Like, there's a 5%, the overreaction, the doomsday, Negadelphia crowd that pissed me off. Some people just don't know what they're talking about. But 95% of Philadelphia sports, we might be the most knowledgeable fan base in the country. What you cannot do is talk to them like they're dumb, talk down to them, try to fool them. So the other night when he's asked about the backup five, a legitimate question at this point. You and I are on the same page. Paul Reed's not the savior. B-ball Paul's not coming in and saving the series. But at this point, he's probably better than DeAndre Jordan when teams are shooting 75% at the rim against him on the floor, right? And he's a minus 25 in 10 minutes. So when you get asked that question, Doc, after Paul Reed just goes for 20, again, bad Pistons team, bench players, whatever, goes for 25, something DeAndre Jordan hasn't done in probably 12 years. Maybe don't talk to the reporter and the fans like they're a bunch of a-holes. Let me break it down for you one more time just so everybody understands it. When they go big, we're going to go big. When they go small, we'll go small. Okay? Everybody, shut your mouth. Because it's a legitimate question. As a head coach, as a basketball mind, Doc, how do you watch the performance DeAndre Jordan puts on the floor? Then you get the numbers in front of you. And both are horrible. And you like, what are you defending?
So Doc has an ego. And
100%.
I don't know if I blame him. It's like, and here's why. When you get told you're like, it's like a kid. When you get told you're really, really good, and then finally you hear you're not that good, you just start rallying off your accolades. And that's what Doc does.
Can I ask you how good he really is? When they hired him, I was ecstatic. It's a big name. And he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. He's got one ring with the first big three ever assembled. And he's got the most blown series leads and game 7 collapses in the history of the game.
He's had a lot of talent and has not produced more than one ring. So that says a lot. It's so weird because I was number one Doc hypocrite or hater last year.
No, not me.
After the series, everyone pointed the finger at Ben. I really thought it was a Doc thing. I think he got away from a game plan that really worked because it's kind of what he does, and that's why you see these collapses. But the comments are so bad. Like you talk about the Popovich thing, you talk about the we'll go big, they'll go big, you go small, and it's just like you're not Popovich.
You're coming off like a D-bag.
Yeah, and
you can give the Paul Reed answer. Like the words, you can word it how you worded it. Yeah. You don't have to give the attitude and the energy you gave in that response to a legitimate question.
And my thing is this. If he was this Philly sentimental coach that has won for Philly and has done all these things for Philly, and Philly beat reporters are asking you these questions, and it's like wrong in a sense, if that I don't know if the word is wrong, but if he had proven something in Philly and they've won a title and someone asked him a dumb question like that, he has the right to ask that. They have won one playoff series with Doc. They underachieved mightily last year. They just underachieved in this regular season in terms of probably where they would have been projected if the roster was set in the beginning of the year, which it wasn't, obviously. But they're the 4 seed. They have an uphill battle even if they win this series. He's proven nothing in Philadelphia. So to take shots at Philadelphia beat writers, even National Basketball Association beat writers, winning in 2008 has nothing to do in the year 2022. Ever since then,
a lot of bad failures in between.
A lot. You look at the names he's had, and it's Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, all in their athletic primes, all probably in their primes. Maybe Chris Paul, other places, but Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, like he's had legitimate superstars, and he has yet to produce since 2008. So, kind of reeling this all back into what it is he's proven nothing, and it's time to prove something. And the answers are whatever if they go win a title. If they win a title, say whatever you want.
You could smack me in the face, Doc, if you win a title. Go ahead.
It's really put up or shut up time for Doc. And to Jeremy's point earlier, I don't think he can coach them out of this series.
Well, I think he comes back with this. They won't lose this series, but I don't think they'll overcome him to go.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think he can coach out of this series. I think he absolutely could coach you out of a Miami series. I think he could coach you out of a Brooklyn series, Milwaukee, Boston. Like, there's plenty of teams he could coach you out of. But again, Doc has pushed the right buttons with a couple things. Mm-hmm. And
he has, and that's all you have to – that's what you can hope for, dude.
Yeah, 100%. And we're not Popovich either, if that makes sense.
No,
so
exactly.
Nothing we say to critique is in essence, but I really hope we just see. What if we see a historic performance from Doc and it all comes full circle and they
Yeah,
really do make a run?
I'm with you. Or
Well,
even
what if
if
we
they
lose
don't
in the
make a
first round of 5 games?
no, or even if they don't make a run, but it has nothing to do with what he did. If he plays the right guys and he doesn't put them out there for too long and he makes adjustments and they just get beat, okay, well, now we have to take a long, hard look at this roster then around Joel Embiid. But he can't be the main reason, or even a reason that they lose, or especially early on in the playoffs. Again,
So
one
my
last
question to you
coaching.
is this, though, Dylan. We talk about making adjustments, and making adjustments can be a lot of things. It can be playing new guys, staggering minutes in a different way. His adjustments are limited in this series, especially without Mattisse in some of these games.
Okay.
Again, you can stagger the Joel minutes and you can stagger the Harden minutes to the best of your ability, but there's no click the button of Tyrese Maxey game 1, then click it game 2 with Shake to try to make an adjustment. That's not available.
Right.
So what are the adjustments he can make is really the question. Again, staggering
You're
the minutes
right.
is number one.
I think I don't even mean so just as much about the rotation. Obviously, that's going to play a key part. I just think when you over the course of a 48-minute game, you're sitting there, you're watching, and you're just watching these offensive sets. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Turnover, sloppy. Can't do any. Can't get Joel the ball on the post because they're sending a double team before he gets the ball. Right. I understand that there's things that defenses can do to take away what you're doing. I understand, players play, like I said. So if there's sloppy turnovers, hey, but take control then. There's far too many times I watch a James Harden led bench squad come out and again, they'll be up 16 and there's not a timeout called until it's a 4-point game. Hey, how about Doc, when they hit a 3, we turn the ball over, they get a quick transition bucket. Timeout. We're putting a stop to this momentum real quick, right? Because it's either A, going to give Toronto life in Toronto, or it's going to suck the Philly crowd right out of you. And you can't have either of those things. So just managing the game better. Like, remember when Nick Sirianni came out and was basically like, well, what do you want me? They took it away. That's great, Nick. That's their job. It's your job to adjust and figure out something that works. That's how I feel when it comes to Doc in game. It's like he comes into a game. This is the 5 things he's going to do, and he doesn't waver. If they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. We'll watch the tape after the game, and that's not good enough against Nick Nurse and the Toronto Raptors. Last coaching thing I want to get to before we get to X Factor and predictions and whatever, and then get to the Phillies game. So Mattisse Thybulle obviously will not be available in Toronto. I just threw this question out there earlier. It's not something I believe they should necessarily do. It's just interesting to me. Again, I'm not this big, bad vaccination guy. I don't care what you do, right? But when you're an athlete, like the things we've seen with Kyrie Irving go through this year, right? And the Aaron Rodgers rumors, and Aaron Nola last year wasn't vaccinated. He became unavailable for the Phillies in a pennant chase, right? Everyone was pissed about that. As an athlete, you have this requirement. You are responsible to show up for your team. What do you think about the idea that you don't play Mattisse at home either? I know it sounds stupid. I know. I'm not talking about on a basketball standpoint.
No, I don't.
All right.
I don't. And again, we won't get into the controversial topics, but
what if it pisses off Joel and James?
And that's a different story. If the locker room saying don't play him,
right,
it's not an option. But if I'm Doc and no one has an issue with it, I absolutely.
If no one has an issue, yes, I'm with you. I'm just saying, like, think about if you were in that locker room, and you didn't even want it. Like, let's just say you got vaccinated because you had to as a player, but you didn't even necessarily want it. You did it. You something you didn't want to do necessarily. Now this dude doesn't, and he just gets to play at home, and he does. You know what I mean? Like, it could just rub people the wrong way.
My thing also is, if you weren't one to want it, and you look around and like you look in the locker room and say, "Yeah, I didn't want this either, and I got it because we're all here," and that was a big thing with James and Kyrie. It's why James kind of didn't want to be there anymore. I'm pretty sure that was one of the main reasons as well. So
also Matisse's response. Also, again, not this big bad vax guy. Not getting into it.
Yeah,
the response was just so. I don't want to be rude. Dumb. Like, I get it. You have your beliefs. Then, buddy, why'd you get the first one if you felt so morally strong about it? You got the first one. What the hell does the second one matter? Like, it just, the response didn't make sense. The rationale didn't make sense. And now he's unavailable against this long, athletic Toronto team when you might need him to be.
It's a
Maybe
disaster.
they don't.
Again, disaster is the word. And if you lose this series, Dylan, and let's just play hypothetical for 2 minutes, it doesn't have to be any more than that. If you lose this series, just put an asterisk next to it.
Nah.
Let's say you lose every game in Toronto and they steal one at home.
Then maybe. Yeah.
That's where it's like, dude. But I don't know. If they, I don't even want to talk about the losing because I think they're going to win this series, and I want to keep the optimism.
Because we talk about, we know how important his defense is, Gint. But let's say he even was to play. Like, let's say in Philly, you might only see Mattisse Thybulle score 3 points and play 16 minutes. You know what I mean? Because that, like, so that's not going to cost you the series, in my opinion. But like you said, if they look great at home and lose all 3 in Toronto, and then Toronto steals a game 7 in Philly, yeah, that could be a big reason. Like, because then the numbers may tell you, okay, here's how we looked with him defending at home. Here's how it was on the road without him. And now they just stole a game 7, winner take all, go home, right? So that would be a problem. All right. Before we wrap this up, again, I just have a few little quick things to run through. Who's the most important bench piece?
I'm going to say Shake, because I don't know who the backup big is going to be to even mention, but Shake's 6'6", long, athletic, and is the only thing that's kind of like a spark plug that can really maybe come in and contribute. I think Niang is what he is. He's going to hit a couple shots. He might be streaky. He might hit 4 one night and then 0 the next night. But you're going to get what you're going to get from Niang. But I think Shake is a legitimate, important piece, especially in Toronto. I know we're going to keep dwelling on that, but in Toronto, we need Shake. The defensive side of the ball is going to take a hit. So the other side of the ball, which Shake can produce, yeah.
Nah, I'm with you, I think. Obviously, Niang's going to be important for obvious reasons. He's going to have to hit open threes. But that's all you're really asking from him. The backup 5 obviously becomes then the next important, not for offensive production. It just comes down to, can you be serviceable on the minutes Embiid's not on the floor? Not like Boban and Greg Monroe and Amir Johnson were a few years ago. Abe says we need Niang to knock down shots 100%. But I think it is Shake because, and he said Shake and Niang. Sorry, Abe. He's the guy. Again, we how many times do we have to say it? He's the one guy you've seen this from in the past. And then what's he do the other night? Gives you 30 on like 11 of 18 shooting. Again, horrible Pistons team, bad team. But you've seen it from him before. And if you can get, not that Shake Milton. Shake Milton's not coming off the bench and scoring 25, 30 points. If you can get Shake Milton to come off the bench and give you, what's a good number again? 13? Okay. 13, 14 on efficient shooting, knock down a 3 or 2, be another ball handler. He's a longer defender, just not get killed defensively. Great. Niang, knock down 2 or 3 threes. Back up 5, not get killed. Now you're talking, because then the stars can be the stars.
If everything goes like that, you're talking 4-1. Comfortable wins, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, before we get to the series prediction, and again, obviously game 1 this Saturday, so come Monday, again, you and I will be breaking down game 1 and previewing game 2. Who's your biggest X factor?
Joel.
Joel?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got to be a superstar. He has to be. There's no Toronto does this, and this. When we talked about Nick Sirianni, well, Nick, you got to adjust. Joel, you got to figure it out. And he will. He's the best player on the planet. And I'm so excited to see this run. I think it's going to be awesome to watch. And then, obviously, 1B is James. And I know if I pick Joel, you're probably going to pick James. 30 and 11, James Harden. Be super aggressive. Shoot 27 free throws between the two of you. And let's just get through Toronto, man. Let's do it.
So I'm not going to. Now, he is a humongous factor. Both of them are, because both of them have to be stars, right? All postseason run. One thing I'll comment on with the Embiid point, man, I really hope, like I want him to win, obviously, but I hope that the votes play out how they're looking.
He didn't win.
I know. Because again, like let that burn inside you, dude.
Well,
let that burn
happened
inside
last
you.
year, and Game
It
one didn't
did,
look.
but we also knew he didn't play enough. Like I
Yeah,
talked, so this year, like I think in Philadelphia, at least before even in Philadelphia, it wasn't a consensus because of how little he played. And Jokic was really good last year. Jokic's numbers are like the same as last year, if not maybe a little worse statistically. Joel, scoring champ, like it's a consensus here. Let it burn inside of you and let it fuel you to a playoff run. I'm gonna go. All right, so James Harden. Here's my three keys. James Harden has to either be James Harden or a half of James Harden from the past. He has to be that guy that can give you 25 to 30 points a night, shoot efficiently from three, and average 9 plus 10 plus assists a night. Get others involved, which I think he will. Doc Rivers is a big one. Don't lose you the series. Manage the bench correctly. Don't play him too long, etc. Tobias Harris is going to be huge this series. I'm not saying it just to be different. Tobias Harris has been horrible against Toronto this year. Let me see if I can pull up the numbers now. Scotty sent it to me like yesterday morning. Here it is. Tobias Harris in the 4 games this year, when they're 1-3 against Toronto, has averaged 12.8 points, 7 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. So the all-around numbers are fine, but 12.8 points. He's had, let's see. He shot in 25% from the field, 22.2% from the field, 37.5% from the field, and 38.9% from the field. Tobias Harris can't have 9 points against the Toronto Raptors this year. Because, dude, even if we're right, even if Embiid gives you 35 and Harden gives you 27 and 12, right? Well, we know that Toronto's got a lot of guys that can give you 20 plus. Where else are you getting your offense from? We're not banking on the bench. Danny Green, if he's
I'm
that
not
starter,
banking on the kid either.
Yeah, and I'm not banking on Tyrese Maxey having more of a coming out party and having to give you. I don't like. It's a lot to ask for him to have to be the guy.
He's getting Fred VanVleet thrown in front of him, most likely.
Yeah,
like, it's a lot to ask for this kid to come out and pour 25. You're right about Tobias, and it's a great point.
it's not. I'm not asking a lot. I'm saying 16 a night, 17
I was going to say
a night.
17. We've been like 1 point off everything.
Yeah.
17 is fair. 17 on efficient shooting, if you're getting aggressive James Harden and Joel Embiid, is more than enough in my opinion. Like I keep talking about what is enough to like 4-1 is like the number, a gentleman's sweep. I don't think we'll sweep the Raptors, but for everything to go right, I think 17 points is more than fair.
All right, well,
it'll be interesting what they do with him defensively as well. When Joel's not on the court, it's not like last year. Like if this was last year and we had Ben in the lineup, like Tobias probably play a lot of 5, in my opinion, with how bad DeAndre Jordan has been. But I don't think you can do that against this long, athletic Toronto Raptors team.
Abe says it's crazy how the NBA values people like Bill Simmons' opinion on MVP voting, but not Kevin Durant. Imagine if the league switched to player by your peers. You get voted on by your peers.
You can't.
I know. Let's see. Scotty checking in. Yeah, Max doesn't need any more. You're exactly. Like I'm not. He's capable of it. But that's
I can have a coming out party, just throwing Fred VanVleet on him and then saying, "Oh, Max, he didn't score 25."
Yeah, because the veteran Max player got you 11. Like I need Toby to be the first man up, and Scotty, who the hell knows? I guess we'll find.
He's gonna go eeny, meeny, miny, mo Saturday around like 4:00. We'll figure it out.
Well, also, Scotty, I don't know if you've heard. When they go big, we're going to go big. When they go small, we'll go small. So there's the answer from Doc. All right, again, series prediction. You've been saying 4-1 a lot, and I know you said that's if everything goes well. Is that what you're locking in?
I'm going to go 4-2. I think Philadelphia's going to win.
I'm with you.
I think they'll win game 3. Maybe not then. I'm going to go 4-1. I can't see them winning another one. They're not going to beat us. They're not going to beat us both games in Toronto. We're going to win both games at home, and we're not going to lose.
You think so? So I have it 4-2. Sixers in 6. I think the series starts 2-2. I think it's 1-1 in Philly. I don't. Again, not trying to be Negadelphia, but I've seen the past in Philadelphia in game 1s and stuff like that. 1-1 in Philly, 1-1 in Toronto. Sixers take game 5 at home, and then they wrap things up in Toronto, game 6. I think each game will be tight and close. Like it's going to be difficult. Abe says we really need the Sixers to be tough on defense, really put bodies on these guys. That's the only. They're not as talented as the Sixers. They don't have enough. How Toronto is going to try to beat you is with out hustling you, beating you to every loose ball, killing you on the offensive glass and shooting almost double the amount of times the Sixers have, and just being more energetic. And they've done that successfully the 3 of the 4 games this season, in large part due to their coach. So Doc cannot get outclassed by Nick Nurse. The stars for Philly have to show up, and you can't get out hustled in every game. I'm sure there'll be a game or two where they do get out hustled, and I think that's why they'll lose 2 games. But outside of that, I think talent will prevail in a 7-game series, and I just think that the Sixers had too much. Scotty's going with Sixers in 6 as well. I know Phil's got the Sixers in 5 thing trending. It'd be amazing. I just think Toronto's too fundamentally strong to go out in a gentleman's sweep.
Would you be more surprised if they lost this series than you were when Atlanta beat them?
Yeah. I was shocked when they lost to Atlanta. Don't get me wrong. But watch it okay, heading into the series, maybe not. I didn't think Atlanta had anything for the Sixers, especially when the Sixers went up 2-1. I thought it was over. But then watching how it was playing out, Atlanta was so deep last year, dude, and the Sixers bench was awful and whatever. You went out and you made that move at the deadline for a very specific reason. You're pushing all your chips to the middle of the table over the next 2 years. Well, this is one of the 2 years, Kent. And I was never one of those guys to say, well, next year's the year. No, I'm not doing that. They have a chance to do it this year. James Harden has to flip a switch. Doc Rivers can't get outclassed. And then the little things just have to be okay. And I think they'll be fine.
And I know we're going to jump into the Phillies in any second, but it really is amazing, the pessimism over this series towards the Sixers, and it's even for the national media.
I love it.
Joel might have 40 and 20 on Saturday. It's gonna be so awesome to watch. James is gonna hit a step back 3 in the first possession of the game. The place is gonna lose the roof.
I'll eat it up, dude. But yeah, so Sixers in 6 is what we're leading with. Again, that segment went a lot longer than
we said
foresaw.
42 minutes.
So
we also had the technical difficulties on my laptop charger.
We did. Classic. But to get to the second portion of the show before we wrap up, we do have some Phillies talk. And again, I'm going to bring the fan base into this because my fellow Philadelphia fans, I don't know what to do with you guys sometimes. A couple people got hit with an unfollow button or muted over this past week. I can't take it, dude. So the Phillies, if you live under a rock or if you don't follow the Phillies, they're 3-3 in the first 6 games of this year. Underwhelming, sure. They took 2 or 3 from the A's, lost game 3 at home to the Athletics on Sunday. Then they come back down 4-0, bottom of the 8th against the Mets in game 1 on Monday night, come back, win 5-4. Then they dropped the last 2 games against New York. They're 3-3. The bats, specifically the top part of the lineup with Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, have not had much success this season. From Corey Seidman, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, and Bryce Harper are 9 for 63 on the season, hitting 143. Kyle Schwarber is 0 for his last 18 with 8 strikeouts after game 3 versus the Mets. They haven't been good. The pitchers, outside of Kyle Gibson and Zach Wheeler for 5 innings, the pitching hasn't been great. Joe Girardi letting Christopher Sanchez and Nick Nelson out there for 4 innings in a 1-run ball game. Crazy to me. They're 3-3. The pitching hasn't been anything spectacular.
It is short dudes.
In a short off season, and these dudes who we know are going to produce. Please stop with the Kyle Schwarber forgot to hit a baseball when he came to Philadelphia. Stop. Bryce Harper, blah, blah, blah. We know they're going to produce, but already the sky's falling down again. They're 3-3.
You're sure it'd be a different story if they were putting up 15 runs a night and losing somehow. Guys that have proven to do this are struggling, and baseball is such a struggle game. It's so roller coaster throughout the season. Bryce is going to turn around. Kyle Schwarber is going to turn it around, and we're going to go through a 3-week stretch where they hit 320, and we're going to be, holy smokes, they're back, and then you're going to go through a slump. It's such a roller coaster game, but you are right. Sky is falling. And then, of course, the Miami series is here. They'll get swept, and the sky really will be falling.
Yeah, so they do take Miami on in just about an hour. So after the Phaithful Phanatics show wraps up, stay right here. Tune in to DSM Media. Myself, Kata, and Cole will be live for Phillies pregame show from 6 to 6:30. But It's just insane to me. So to go over the first 6, like we said, the bats just have not been alive. Nick Castellanos has been one of the more consistent guys. He's really awoken over the last 3 games or so. Rhys Hoskins before 2 games ago was looking good. Gene Segura before getting hit on the hand was looking good. Bryson Stott had a really nice day yesterday. Outside of that, the bats are asleep, and they're still putting up 5 runs, 7 runs, 6 runs, 4 runs, whatever they're putting up. The pitching. So you've gotten 2 starts out of Aaron Nola so far. One in which the wheels fell off in the 6th inning and he had to be pulled on opening day. And then the other where he went 3 1/3 against the Mets. Again, Aaron Nola continues to be a problem. For some reason, we have a long leash with him. I don't understand it. Ranger Suarez went 2 1/3. Zach Eflin went 4 innings. And Zach Wheeler, in a good start, only 1 run given up, could only go, I believe, 5 because of pitch count and coming off of injury. So the pitching hasn't been there. The bullpen, props to the bullpen, because they've looked fine. Yesterday, they obviously got beat up in the second half of yesterday's game. But before that, Nick Nelson, Christopher Sanchez, Corey Knebel, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jose Alvarado, Brogdon before yesterday, all looking great. I don't know how, because Girardi's just hanging them out there high and dry, dude. I don't understand. No one's questioning it. I don't understand. Again, no one's talking about it. Like, the other
night. He's got championship pedigree.
Dude, the other night, he threw Nick Nelson out there. What was the one game? Damon Jones or whoever the hell that is came in, and he tried to trot him out there for 3 innings. In a 1-run game on Tuesday night, he threw Christopher Sanchez for 4. Joe, what? You can't throw middle relievers for 4 innings.
I agree. And again, though, it's so hard for me, especially, I don't know about you, but to judge a baseball season off 6 games. Don't get me wrong. Joe Girardi deserves the judgment, though, because he hasn't been, since he's got here, the best. I know you are not the biggest fan, to say the minimum, but it's so hard to judge a baseball season when you're 3-3. You've underperformed mightily, and you're 3-3.
Thank you. So instead of seeing the glass half full, people choose to see it glass half empty.
It's half full, dude. Bryce, what's Bryce Harper
let's make this together. Because I got screenshots myself. I got screenshots of Sixers fans. I got screenshots of Phillies fans. And then, you know what boggles my mind the most before we wrap this show up? Dude, look, if you could see this, obviously I love the Sixers and the Phillies, but my whole life, football and the Eagles have always been number one, like just slightly higher than the others, right? And I'm not the most optimistic guy right now on the Eagles. But the people that are down on the Phillies after 6 games think James Harden's washed and the Sixers are getting bounced in the first round are the same people giving Howie Roseman and the Eagles props and how that give Jalen Hurts another year with this guy and Nick and Howie Roseman's done a great job. Oh, but the Phillies are crumbling after 6 games. It's numbing.
It's called double standards, Dylan. It's called double standards. You believe what you want to see.
Let's give a shattered franchise in the Eagles right now. And who knows? In 2 weeks, I might be ecstatic if Howie goes out there and has himself a night on Thursday night for the first night of the draft. I get the Eagles are fine. I'm just saying the Eagles aren't number 1 on my best team in Philadelphia list at the moment. They're number 3, or if we're counting Union, they're number 4. And people are out here like, the Eagles in a year or two are really going to be something. But not the Sixers are losing to the Raptors in 6 this season. Get the hell off of my timeline.
Nah, yeah, it'll be fun to break down the Phillies. Again, bigger sample size is needed, especially when you've clearly came out in the struggle bus. So we'll jump into it. It'll be fun. Hopefully they just sweep Miami, kind of put this stigma to bed, even though they have sucked against Miami the last couple of years. But put the stigma to bed, sweep them this series. Kyle Gibson goes tonight. We were at the game on Saturday. Kyle Gibson looked unbelievable, unbelievable. So hopefully he continues that trend.
I agree. I think they take 3 out of 4 versus Miami.
That's a fair
obviously
number. I like
2-2 is fine. they'll still be 5-5 and people will be freaking out. But I think 3-1's the route. I know in previous years, the Phillies have not, for whatever reason, been able to beat the Marlins. Even when the Marlins are 5th in the division and they're 32 games under 500, they cannot beat them home or away. And I know early on in 6 games, people are like, oh, it's the same old Phillies ball. It's not. Guys, it's not. The lineup is not the same as previous years. I know Schwarber is 0 for his last 18. I know Bryce is struggling. It's not the same lineup. It's not the same bullpen. I think they take care of business this upcoming stretch and they go 3-4. And Jason, you want to hop on, or like you want the link to come on, or you want me? Yeah, we'll get that link in the group chat.
Get Jason on the pregame show.
Yeah. Let's wrap this one up.
Get the hashtag going.
Let's wrap this one up because I got to get my Phillies parlays in before I get through the pregame show. I'm going to run out of time. But that's going to do it for tonight's episode of the Phaithful Phanatics Show, everybody. We'll be back this upcoming Monday to break down Sixers game 1 versus the Raptors and preview game 2, which will be taking place that Monday. And then obviously the Phillies will have wrapped up their series with Miami by then. So we'll really get to see how our predictions look by then. Again, we could be looking like the smartest dudes on the internet, or looking like
down 0-1. Miami swept the Phillies.
Yeah, they'll go 1-3 in Miami, and the Sixers will get blown out in game 1, and we got to come on here and be like, well, don't watch that show. But guys, check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. The link tree is in our bio to take you to every social media platform we are available on. Check out our TeePublic link as well. We got a couple cool designs. We've got the Broad Street or the Sixers bunch, excuse me. There's a Spectrum one and a regular one of the Sixers, play Embiid, Harden, Maxey, Daryl Morey's on one, George Niang's on one, etc. And then we got the Broad Street Bombers. It's a Phillies one with Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper. But apparently Phillies fans won't want that because we all suck now. But that's going to do it for this show. Again, everybody, have a nice night. Enjoy the Phils.